What if I told you that in the silence of a small seaside town, there lies a magic capable of changing your life? Imagine this: tiny streets lined with blooming buildings in vibrant colors that evoke long-forgotten dreams. In every window, there is light, and sounds of laughter and joy waft from the cafes as if living stories are bursting forth from them. Here, where the salty wind gently caresses the face and the sounds of the waves create a symphony of tranquility, it seems that time is truly stopped. Children play on the park benches, their laughter fills the space with bright colors, while adults, thoughtfully glancing at passers-by, quietly discuss the latest news. Yet in this idyllic world, the springs of inner conflict still lurk, like darkness beneath a shining sky. And there he is, a painter who has fled to this oasis, seeking inspiration that seemed to be hidden far beyond the hustle and bustle of the city. His footsteps resonate with the clacking of heels on the cobblestones, and each sound is louder than it appears. He feels something strange here, as if the town itself longs to reveal its profound secrets filled with passion, love, and struggle. A mysterious woman he encounters in one of the cafes captivates his interest. Her smile, like a sunbeam through the clouds, overshadows his thoughts of the past. She breathes mysteries and magic, but over time he begins to realize that as he immerses himself in her world, his own light starts to fade. Expectations and fears, like shadows, follow him, overshadowing his feelings and extinguishing his creative sparks. But can he distance himself from her charm to rediscover himself? In this picturesque town full of secrets and temptations, he must confront the most difficult opponent, himself. Here, among the greenery and warmth, the painter must understand that love is not just diving into someone else's reality, but the ability to remain true to oneself. Only then will his desires become part of his art. What if I told you that within each of us lies an artist waiting for its moment? Imagine that after many years of living in the endless hustle of the city, you suddenly open your eyes and realize that your heart pulls you back to the places where every corner breathes memories. It's like a nostalgic melody playing in your soul, evoking a thrill, memories of carefree childhood, the first inspiration from painting on a simple canvas, and a world that once seemed endless. It includes those very moments when you strolled along familiar paths, searching for quiet spots to retreat with a pencil and notebook. It beckons you to a lake reflecting clouds and to mountains that call you to reach new heights. How many times have you dreamed of returning to that inner peace, freeing yourself from the noisy rhythm of the metropolis and rediscovering your inspiration within nature? Each of us feels the need for change at some point in life. In this baptism, to experience that thrilling moment when you step onto the path to yourself, allowing your inner spark to shine brighter than ever. And now, you make a decision. Beyond the horizon, which has long become unattainable, lies something more than just a place. It is your true dream, your muse, your freedom. This decision is not just a return. It has the power to change everything, to fill your days with meaning, to find inner peace, and finally to allow yourself to breathe deeply. And who knows, maybe it's in this hometown that you will find that very spark of creativity that will change everything in your life. It's time to look within and ask yourself, are you ready to take a step towards your dream? What if I told you that sometimes meeting a stranger can turn your life upside down? The dimness of the gallery enveloped the walls in a soft light, and the paintings quietly whispered their stories in the background. In this tranquility he, the artist, sought inspiration, but suddenly he stumbled upon a vibrant color, bright as the light of a neon sign amidst gray everyday life. It was her Her outfit, purple like an August sky at sunset, stood out against the pastel tones of the paintings like coffee and a glass of mineral water. She was standing, thoughtfully examining one of the works, her face reflecting the triumph of contrasts, joy and sadness, light and shadow. She looked as if she could easily become the heroine of any piece, yet remained a mystery, the key to which had not been found. He could not take his eyes off her. What does this woman conceal that stopped me a step away from another canvas? Flashed through his thoughts. There was some kind of allure about her that he could not explain. She looked in his direction, and in her gaze a spark of interest flickered, as if she knew his thoughts and was ready to share something important. This moment became the culmination of an unpredictable journey. Every step he took seemed so insignificant compared to what could happen beside her. There was only one thing left: to take a step toward her, learn her name, and perhaps the story hidden behind her shining eyes. Come on, be bold. Courageously approach this strange, bright creature, his intuition whispered to him. But doubts also tormented him. What if she merely caught his glance and expected nothing more? Nevertheless, in that moment, he knew. His interest in her had become his new source of inspiration, an opportunity to learn more about artists not only on canvases but also in life. He took a step forward, preparing for a meeting that could change not just his day but his destiny. What if your heart could speak? Sometimes I feel that art is a reflection of our inner struggle, she said with a slight sadness, looking at the sky full of shimmering clouds. Yes, and in every painting there is a part of us even if we are not aware of it, he replied, his eyes sparkling with playful glimmers like stars. Do you believe in this? She smiled, and that smile eclipsed the brightness of the sunset. I do. And you? How do you define art? As passion or necessity? He pondered, narrowing his eyes as if searching for an answer in the endless horizon. Perhaps it is both. Like air for your breathing. You can't live without it, he said quietly. Her heart suddenly raced. This conversation was like a dance they entered unknowingly. She felt that every word of his filled the space between them with warmth. And if you could create the perfect piece, what would it be? Through the prism of his thoughts, he saw her. I would depict those moments. Simple yet so profound. For instance, how two strangers discuss life and art under a sky full of possibilities. She laughed. His simple thought touched her. That's beautiful, like a dream, she replied, feeling how this moment was eternal, like a drop of dew on morning grass. Do you believe in the magic of chance encounters? Absolutely. It's those moments that make us alive. We don't know where it will lead, but we must believe, he said, and there was a confidence in his voice that she longed to hear. The silence between them became rich. Every delivery of words, every pause created an invisible thread connecting their gazes and hearts. This meeting felt like a bridge to the unknown, a shining study in their lives, and they both felt it. Perhaps this is the magic we're talking about, she said quietly, and there was hope in her voice. Yes, the most important thing is not to be afraid. Sometimes you just need to talk to a stranger and open a new chapter in your story, he replied. And a spark glimmered in his eyes. The world around them quieted down, leaving only their voices intertwining in a magical dance that seemed to last for eternity. What if I told you that there are people who can read your emotions like open books? Meet her, the woman who sees what is hidden from most. She is not just an observer, but a true seer of feelings. In her eyes reflect joys and sorrows, fears and hopes, even when those around hide their true emotions behind masks. Imagine you are sitting at a table in a cafe, lost in your thoughts, and suddenly she turns to you, Her gaze penetrates the very depths of your being. She smiles, but in that smile there is something more: understanding. She can sense your anxiety even if you are not aware of it yourself. This is not just intuition, it is a gift. When she walks by, the world around freezes. It is as if an invisible magnet draws all attention to her. Talking to an artist who has long sought inspiration for his new work, she instantly feels his fluctuations. Excitement and confusion blend in the air. Her words, flowing easily and freely into the conversation, awaken vivid images in him that he had not even thought of. Every word she speaks is the ability to see, hear, understand. It is as if she magically transforms ordinary phrases into a palette of feelings bright and rich. She talks about what she sees, and he, like a wanderer lost in the fog, finally finds his way. These moments are her magic, and her abilities turn ordinary encounters into something incredible. Just one glance at her can make you rethink your entire life. How often do we lock our emotions in the dark corners of our souls, hiding them from the eyes of others? But in her presence, everything becomes clear, and perhaps that is the true essence of communication: sincerity and understanding. Who would have thought that a simple meeting with such a woman could change your perception of the world? Close your eyes and imagine that she stands before you, ready to unveil the full spectrum of your feelings, as if it were an artist's palette on which the painting of your life has yet to begin. Can you allow her to see what you have never shown? Do you know what happens when you let your emotions take over? It's like a tumultuous storm unfolding in your soul, sweeping everything around and giving birth to incredible ideas. I always thought that creativity was just working with paints and canvas. But one day, when I was engulfed in feelings, I realized it's not only a palette, it's a whole ocean of emotions from which to draw inspiration. Each brushstroke turns into a wave of experiences, and each line becomes an expressive cry of the inner self. I remember that night when my heart raced with excitement. I sat down at the easel and saw vibrant colors bursting from my soul. It was not just about creating a painting. It was liberation. I felt like I breathed in fresh air, and in that moment the world around ceased to exist. The feeling of complete freedom when you create something unique that you had never thought of before. I had the desire to pour my feelings onto the canvas like a river that cannot stop. I conveyed joy, sorrow, hope, and even fear with each drop of paint. And you know, in that process, I began to discover new facets of myself. Thanks to this creative explosion, I started to understand better what truly matters to me. Those moments when emotions overwhelm and fill are incredibly powerful. They not only uplift the mood, but also allow you to create something amazing. Each piece created is not just a painting, it's a story I want to tell the world. And it is this connection with my feelings that leads me to the freedom of creativity, which, strangely enough, can change not only my works but also myself. What if your inspiration has become a prisoner of your emotions? The paintings that once begged to be on the canvas now demand her presence. Each stroke, each line, seems they wait for her gaze, her smile, as if they come alive only through her. At first it was just inspiration, a vibrant burst that filled his days, but now he feels how this feeling changes him. The joy that once flowed from creation now intertwines with fear. Fear of loss. Fear that one day she will leave, and with her his muse will also depart. This dependency, which seems so natural, becomes a burdensome weight on his shoulders. Every morning he waits for her call, and when it doesn't come, his heart faces emptiness. Is this the price for true inspiration? And what to do when love begins to overshadow freedom? Being with her should bring joy, but suddenly everything changes. He realizes that she is now governed not only by emotions but also by dependency. Every moment with her fills him with joy, but the thought of possibly losing this source of love becomes a stone on his chest. He tries to create a new piece, but every time the brush meets the canvas, his thoughts rush to her warmth. What if one day he realizes that perhaps freedom and creativity requires letting go of all attachments? In the whirlwind of these feelings, he finds himself at a crossroads. Continue to seek her presence or risk it and find inspiration within himself without the need to look back and depend on anyone. This struggle tears him apart from within, forcing him to rethink what truly matters to him at every step. Are you ready to learn the truth that your decisions can lead to unpredictable consequences? A bright day, a busy park, a cozy bench. Friends are sitting, laughing, and discussing life. One of them, looking into his friend's eyes, suddenly becomes serious. Listen, I know you've been getting into a new hobby, but have you considered that it could become an addiction? It's like a flame, and it warms you at first, but then it burns you. You've heard those stories about people who lost themselves in it, right? Watching them lose control is just awful. I don't want something similar to happen to you. Do you remember how our friend started with a small hobby and now can't live without it? So many years have passed and he still hasn't returned to a normal life. What if this path leads you to the same abyss? The pursuit of something new is wonderful, but don't lose your head. It's important to find a balance. I just want you to be careful. Being open to new experiences is good, but sometimes our desires can become traps. Think about what I'm saying. I don't want to scare you, but it's important to see the situation as clearly as possible. Do you want to know how one person's smile can change your whole life? The sunset light softly touches their faces as they walk along the shore, leaving footprints in the sand. He laughs, and that sound, like music, fills the space. She responds to him with genuine laughter, her eyes sparkling like stars reflected in the sea's surface. These moments are not just captured in memory. They are woven into the fabric of their hearts. Each new step they take together seems to make the world around them fade away. The exhilarating wind plays with their hair, painting a perfect day where they can talk about everything: dreams, fears, and, of course, the future. What could be more beautiful than this invisible bridge connecting their souls, transforming ordinary walks into unforgettable adventures? They stop, and he gently takes her hand. He feels her warmth, and it's an amazing sensation when each touch sparks a fire within. She smiles, and in that moment it seems like the whole world pauses. Their eyes meet and they understand. This is not just a romance. It's a mutual understanding that carries both joy and fear at the same time. But, like any story, their connection has its shades. Can such happiness last forever? Is it subject to the trials of time? These thoughts creep into their minds, heralding the inevitability of change. But as long as they are together, they momentarily forget their worries, surrendering to the joy of the present. Every laugh, every touch, every word, these are notes in their symphony of love, where happiness and uncertainty resonate in perfect harmony. Will they be able to overcome all difficulties when the shadow of doubt looms on the horizon? Every moment, every glance, it's both bliss and a challenge that fate throws into their relationship. Together they paint a picture where happiness and fear go hand in hand, ready to face whatever is prepared for them. This is not just a romance, it's their world, full of moments that may remain forever or dissolve into the air. Such is the truth of love, and this is just the beginning of their amazing journey. What will happen if love becomes your heaviest burden? In every brushstroke of the artist, emotions, passions, and fears resonate, but lately, his works have lost their brightness. He sits in his studio surrounded by canvases that hold not a single lively color. Every time he attempts to create, he is overcome by a strange feeling, as if the essence is slipping from his hands. He remembers her, the one and only, his inspiring muse, and as soon as her image surfaces in his mind, anxiety swells in his chest like a storm, sweeping everything away in its path. In each of his pieces now there is only emptiness, as if the artist has forgotten how to use colors. He looks at the half-empty jar of red paint and realizes it is gone, and it won't return until he sees her again. He feels fear taking hold of him. Yes, his love is the light that guides, but it also becomes a shadow obscuring the way. Every day he searches for her in the crowd like a lost traveler, but each time he returns to himself feeling helpless. Darkness envelops him and anxiety grows. How can one create when love itself becomes the source of fear and hopelessness? The artist realizes that his dream of greatness has turned into a deep abyss from which he cannot escape without her light, and now he stands at a crossroads, either to fight against this abyss or to plunge into it head first, forever losing himself. What if I tell you that sometimes loss is not the end, but an opportunity to start anew? I look at the empty wall, but behind it I see only shadows. They remind me of her. Every morning as I pick up the brush, questions arise, sweeping everything in their path. Who was I when she was by my side? And who have I become now? What is left of me in this silence? I remember her laughter, sparkling eyes, and how she regarded each of my strokes on the canvas as a work of art. But where am I when she's gone? I have lost not only her, but also myself, my identity. All the dreams we built together have been shattered. It feels as if I am painting on glass and her image is erased with every drop of rain. It seems that the world around me keeps spinning, but inside me everything has frozen. Who am I without her? An empty canvas? A ghost of my own aspirations? How much further do I need to go to understand who I truly am? But is it worth seeking answers in the abyss of sorrow? Or perhaps recovery is a chance to find myself anew, to paint my story with a stroke separate from hers? Each stroke will be difficult, but maybe therein lies my true identity. In the pain and the desire to be reborn. I must take a step toward myself, and under this light I will not hide my face nor conceal my feelings, but meet myself as I am, lost but ready to find a new path. What if I told you that losing everything means finding yourself? An artist stands by the window, looking at a world that once seemed bright to him. He feels that his life is turning into a gray shadow, forgotten by itself. Each day reminds him of the previous one, and his painting remains unfinished, just like his own fate. How much longer can he stay under the strain of dependence on others? There is a heaviness in his chest, as if a massive stone slab is lodged there. He remembers how easily he once captured inspiration, but now every touch to the canvas is a struggle with himself. He forces himself to think, maybe the truth is that I am only dependent and incapable of anything without it? But what if that is not the case? What if he can find his own path? Gathering all his spirit and courage, he makes a decision to leave behind the familiar world where every day he only frees a piece of himself. He amazes himself with his bravery, as this means stepping into the unknown. The path will be difficult, but he realizes that only through this inner struggle can he become the artist again who once inspired everyone with his creativity. Now he is ready to face fear and work on his paintings, no longer relying on others' opinions. The decision to become independent is not just a choice, it is his last chance. He knows that this road may lead to loss, but it is precisely in loss that he must find himself. Perhaps it is in this darkness that he will glimpse the light he lost long ago. Only by disconnecting from all dependencies and being alone with himself can he regain the spark that once made him unique. And this path, although complicated, may change his life forever. He picks up the brush, takes a deep breath, and that first confident line on the canvas becomes the starting point of his new beginning. What happens when you stop limiting yourself? In a world full of hustle, sometimes it's worth just stopping and listening to yourself. For example, imagine an artist who has lost inspiration and a sense of self. He sits in front of a blank canvas and his thoughts swirl like leaves in the autumn wind. He realizes that to regain creativity, he must reconnect with himself. Thus begins his journey into meditation. Every morning he sets aside half an hour for silence and self-reflection. He sits on a cushion, closes his eyes, and starts to breathe deeply. At first, thoughts like uninvited guests attack his mind. What will the next exhibition be? Is this enough? But gradually he learns to let them go like clouds passing through the sky. In those moments, he begins to understand that all his experiences are merely reflections of fear and the pressure of the outside world. Do you know what a person feels like when they suddenly realize that all their worries have no weight? It's as if their eyes have been opened. Inhale, and the first ray of clarity penetrates within. Exhale, and the tension fades away. He understands that true inspiration comes from within, not from outside. With each passing day, his inner world becomes clearer. He meets his true self, without masks and expectations. In one of these moments, he suddenly notices his hand reaching for brushes and paints on its own, and his heart begins to beat in the rhythm of the creative flow. No prejudices, no boundaries. He simply creates. Meditation opens new horizons for him. He starts to perceive the world anew, as if he sees it for the first time. Every color, every shadow on the canvas becomes a starting point for self-expression. And he realizes that restoring the connection to oneself is not just training. It's a journey towards independence and freedom. Thus, step by step, he overcomes the barriers he had set up himself. He begins to believe in himself, and this is reflected in his creativity. What incredible power lies in the simple ability to listen to oneself. Are you ready to take the first step towards your independence and inner peace? What if I told you that your whole life could change in just one meeting? The street is spring. The air is filled with the scent of blooming trees. An artist stands at the entrance of a cafe, in the very place where it all began. He takes a deep breath, feeling new confidence fill him. Remembering all the lessons learned and the changes within himself, he realizes, today he is not the person who walked away from her. She enters and time seems to freeze. His heart beats faster and his thoughts swirl into streams of bright hopes. I didn't just come for answers, I came to open up, he thinks. At first, they simply exchange glances that convey both excitement and joy. How are you? He asks, and this question sounds like a promise that now they can speak openly without regrets. She smiles, but her eyes glisten with tears. I thought about you all the time, she replies. These words are like a gentle breeze dispersing clouds. He feels hope taking root, like seeds sown in warm soil. Do you remember how we dreamed of future exhibitions? How our hands froze from the cold while we painted outside? Her voice pleasantly trembles in her chest. Every moment, every flutter in her voice reminds him of how close they once were. I realized that all these years I was searching not only for my own strength, but also for the one that sparks in our conversations, he admits. He notices how her face lights up when she hears his words. We can do this again, start with a clean slate, he continues, and he sees her heart opening as well. All this time he thought his entire artistic career was his personal struggle, but now he understands that all along he had a muse. Every brushstroke was her support, and now they can create something greater than just art. Isn't this a story about how two people can find each other again? he says, and he feels warmth from the realization that a new chapter begins in this conversation. They start talking about their joys and fears, about what separated them and what might bring them together again. This is not just a conversation. It's a dance, where each step brings them closer. No matter how difficult it is, I'm ready to move forward, because there are still many blank pages in our story, he whispers, and at that moment he understands that hope is not just a word, it's their mutual choice. They sit together, and the world around them gradually fades away, leaving only the two of them ready to chart a new path filled with emotions, open dialogues, and perhaps new love. When I first thought about love, one simple idea struck me. Love is not about dependencies, but about collaboration. Why do you think so many people confuse these two concepts? Look at your relationships. Are they built on expectations? Or do both partners genuinely work to create something unified without losing themselves? I remember once sitting by the river with you and you said, "We should not depend on each other. We should complement each other." At that moment it hit me. These are not just words. This is a principle capable of changing the course of our lives. So many people think true love is when you completely give yourself to another, forgetting about yourself. But in reality, it's like a dance where two people not only follow each other, but also find their own rhythms. Remember how we danced in our small kitchen space, not even knowing what rhythm we would end up with? That's the ringing moment when you realize that every step matters. I noticed how our relationship became stronger when we started sharing our real desires and fears. This isn't always easy, but when you open up, it feels like lifting a heavy shadow off your shoulders. We stop constructing perfect images of each other and begin to see each other as we truly are. You are not afraid to share your thoughts, even if they contradict mine. It is so important to allow each other to be imperfect. Love doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be honest. It requires effort, trust, and sometimes words that are hard to say. How would you feel about going through this process of becoming together? What if I told you that openness in discussing our feelings is not only beneficial but necessary for the growth of our relationship? When we began to talk about what truly concerns us, I felt that our bond became stronger. Like a good wine that only improves with age. And it's wonderful that relationships are not a final destination, but a journey. What do you think the next step we will take together to continue this journey? What if I tell you that the freedom of creativity begins where the expectations of others end? Now, as I look at my completed work, I realize that it's not just a painting. It's a reflection of an inner struggle. Long reflections and perhaps losses. The last few weeks have been filled with excitement and search. Every brushstroke, every drop of paint, it's a part of me, a part of my emotions, my fears and hopes. When I made the decision to leave my fears behind and allow myself to be free, I felt everything around me change. This work became my symbol. It speaks of the fact that true art does not tolerate compromises. Every stroke, every shade, is an expression of my essence. I was not afraid of experiments. I did not agree with imposed boundaries. What does it mean to be independent in a world where it's so easy to lose oneself? It means learning to see the world through your own eyes and boldly conveying that onto the canvas. I had to face many critics who advised me to follow trends to tame my ideas, but I was always comforted by the thought, what's the point of creating if you don't believe in your own vision? Upon finishing this work, I felt an incredible relief and joy. This is not just a canvas, this is the beginning of a new path. Anyone who tries to create something new faces doubts. Yes, it is not easy, but that is precisely the essence of it. Do not be afraid to take risks. Do not be afraid to be yourself. Only then will you be able to create something truly unique. When I look at my painting, I see not only my experiences, but also inspiration for everyone who stands at the crossroads of creativity. May each work be a symbol of renewal for you. Let your true self emerge, and you will be amazed at what you are capable of. Your art is your life. Do not let anyone else decide how it should look. What if I tell you that love and independence can coexist? Against the backdrop of the melodic rustle of the waves, the sunset envelops the world in a soft, golden light. Looking into the distance, they realize that their paths have crossed, but each still remains true to themselves. Their hands are intertwined like two branches of one tree reaching for the sun together, yet each maintains its uniqueness and strength. The sun, full of appetizing orange, slowly rolls over the horizon as if hinting that each new day is an opportunity to start anew. One of them, smiling, says, "When I look at you, I see not just a partner, but also a best friend with whom I can share dreams while remaining true to myself." The other, thinking for a moment, replies, "That is exactly what makes us stronger. I found myself in you, but I also know that my happiness is solely my responsibility." Their gazes meet, and in that moment they understand. Harmony is not just the absence of conflict, but the ability to discover and accept each other as they are. Each step on this road to understanding has become a new direction for them, where love does not contradict freedom but rather highlights it. The noise of the waves grows quieter, and nature itself holds its breath in excitement, as if inviting them to immerse themselves in this magical atmosphere. The sunset brings hope and inspiration, and both souls remain connected as if the fairy tale continues. How wonderful it is to live in a world where the warmth of hands and sincere feelings find a place for individuality. They gaze at the sunset, and in the heart of each confidence is born. Ahead lie many new horizons full of mysteries, adventures, and happiness. Deep down they know that by preserving their uniqueness they can overcome any difficulties together.